sticking it to him. I need a crib like I'm Gatsby. I need it in hand, just understand my pocket's that deep. With nothing to prove, I ain't got nothing to do. When they can't compete and I got nothing to lose. You see, they told me I'm the one that's gonna benefit.
Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the number one sports betting vibe on the planet, Veterans Minimum. All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. Make sure you subscribe, like, review, comment, share, tell your friends, your family, your significant other, your plus one, your ops, whoever it might be. Make sure you're following the show at Veterans Minimum. I'm your host, Nick Dais, at Nick Dais 10 as you can find me. We are back in the studio.
Feels
we are
good.
back recording, back in the swing of things. My dog, to my left, Mr. George Carmona.
2025 is here, people. And this is a new look. Kind of fucked up on the beard yesterday, trying to fade it in, trying to be a superstar, look great for the Chargers-Raiders game, and I botched it. I botched it really bad. So we're rocking the stash and soul patch for the start of 2025. We'll see what it brings. We'll see what it brings, bro.
Did you try to do something creative with your beard and then you were like, I just butchered this so bad, I got to just shave the whole thing?
Yeah, you ever like forget where you have the head?
Yeah,
You know, it's like
if it's on like 3.
Yeah, and I did a flip flop, and then before you knew it was like half my beard was gone.
I tried one time to put a lightning bolt because our flag football team, we were called MFA, Made from Astoria, my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
But we had the Charger jerseys. So I tried to do a lightning bolt and I got the one side really good, but I fucked up the other side. I was like, I gotta shave the whole thing now. And bro, you won't see me clean shaven.
I
look awful.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody could pull it off. Like I hate it for the sole fact that I look just like I look my age. I'm 26, but like when I have the beard, I can fucking, in a situation that we're going to talk about here soon, people were like, your son's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a second, dude. Like, you think I have a college athlete as my son? I would have a kid at 5 years old. That's nuts.
Yeah. Hey man, listen, we kind of got to address it. I feel like, I didn't want to talk about it. I did a solo show last week. I felt like it wasn't my place. I wanted to wait until we did a show and linked up. It was a rough couple weeks for our boy Double Nickels.
Very rough.
Very rough. Yeah, I'm trying to be polite, welcome the new year with some high spirits. But man, tell me whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
Obviously we've gotten a lot of attention on both Pin and Pull, on Veterans Minimum. People were asking me about it. The only thing I could say is I know the dude. Really good dude. Met him a bunch of times. That's as far as I know about the incident.
Yeah.
What can you share?
It all happened so fast, Nick. And it's a prime example of like mob mentality in the world that we live in. We landed in Vegas, and once we landed, your phone turns back on. I mean, in the span of that 4 hours, we went from no notifications to thousands of notifications, and it didn't stop for days on end. Direct messages, lots of comments, yada, yada, yada. All for judging a person on 5 seconds of their life. And my dad always used to tell us, like, you'd be surprised how little time it takes to change your life forever. It takes literally seconds. And that's a prime example of it. My brother made a really stupid mistake. He had owned up to it and admitted to it on Twitter, which a lot of people found admirable and respectful. But it's also like he was kind of put in a corner, bro. Like we had, plenty of conversations with the team and the school and to figure out how we should best handle this. And I mean, you could see Pin and Pull hasn't posted anything in weeks. This is literally, Nick, the first time that anybody in the family's addressing it other than my brother's apology. And it's nuts. It's nuts that I would say the majority of people that were hitting us up were girls. Isn't that a little odd to you?
How so?
Just because, you figure football, man sport, like how many, women are really going to message you about something like that? And there was like a lot of comments. And I feel as if women would be most frustrated about that because they just also don't understand like football's violent. We don't watch it for its soft aspects. We watch it for hard hits, obviously within the confines of, the playtime and everything, but shit happens. And he's definitely doing better from it. And for all the people that said like he should be in jail, he's in Mexico right now, enjoying a nice vacation before he has to go back on the grind. So I don't know if that hurts the way that you feel about this or if that helps the way you feel about this, but just know that your comments of trying to get him thrown in jail, they didn't work. That's not how the law works, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it's when you're under fire like that. We were talking about this before we started recording. I don't do that to anyone ever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you better be perfect, man. If you're gonna come after someone's livelihood, I know we fuck around a lot on the show sometimes, and we'll be like, yeah, like Brian Dable, Giants said, hey, he's gonna come back. Kind of pissed me off. I wish he got fired. But he's also on guaranteed contracts. It's like how many college coaches get fired and then they're still cleaning up $45 million. You're like, I wish I could get fired and make $40 million. As my boss is in the room over there. If you ever fire me and I'm making $40 million, I'll be thrilled.
Who's a real winner?
Who's the real winner? And then I could go sign another contract too. So my whole thing is, I know, obviously I know you, I know the family, I met him. We got to just wait and see. It sucks when you feel like you're under pressure and under attack like that. But I think the best thing to do is just let it blow over and we'll see what happens. And in the end of the day too, like I had time yesterday and someone reached out to me and they were like sending me the video. And I just asked, I was like, yo, what do you get out of this? Like, what is it? What is it do you want from me? If anything, the person that gets hurt the most is him. Our boy Double Nichols. And I remember one time, bro, my high school coach told me, because I was a stud 5'10" white guy quarterback in my high school, second team all city, first team all city kicker. If we could pat ourselves on the back, we will. I remember I used to flip out when people would drop passes, like motherfucker, going crazy. Pulled me off to the side. He's like, hey man, no one feels worse than the person that made the mistake, right? I was like, oh. He's like, you think they wanted to drop the pass? No. So that always resonated with me. Sure. I'm like, so no one feels worse than him. Yeah. Because this could alter his future. You never know, right? Yeah. You got to wait and see.
I mean, now this is just me being like football guy. I mean, there's a lot of football guys that didn't say anything. And I think they chose not to say anything for a certain reason. But those are football guys, The 22 percenters that were leaving comments about how much they hated it, it is what it is.
Hey, shout out to the 22 percenters, all the ladies that listen to the show. I've been asked to make merch for the girls too. So merchandise.veteransminimum.com. You can get some merch. We do have some adorable stuff for the ladies as well. Shout out to the 22 percenters. But yeah, I'm glad you were comfortable enough to address this and to talk about it.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say about it, Nick. I'm dead ass serious. Like, I'm not going to say anything on our next pin and pull episode. I'm just going to be like, I literally won't say anything until he probably talks about it. But that's what I mean by it.
Okay, let's dive into some NFL stuff. I want to lead the show with the MVP conversation, George. Seems to be
two-man race.
It's kind of been that way for a while. Like, I think the most ridiculous take was Joe Burrow to be MVP. Even if they would have made the playoffs, I don't think you could be an MVP and lose 8 games. Yeah. Even though his numbers were outrageous and like obviously he wasn't the one that was at fault. Like I remember a couple weeks ago, I think it was when they were like 4-8 or 4-7. We were talking about his numbers and losses. It was like 21 touchdowns it was 17 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. And he lost more games this season in which he scored 35 or more points than Brady did his whole career. So, yeah. And we talk about the 1-score game, right? Back the Bengals next year. They lost all these games by 1 score. Next year, it's going to flip the other way. But I also felt like it was a ridiculous conversation for him to be in the MVP. So it was Lamar and Josh Allen. Obviously, everyone knows that we're financially invested in Josh Allen being MVP. Gave him out at the beginning of the year at plus 900. I'm holding a ticket at plus 850 for him to win MVP. Who do you think is the MVP?
I mean, Nick, there's literally either option is perfectly fine. The NFL is in a position where they can now generate storylines. This is a business of entertainment. So for any year to use the excuse like Lamar's won it before and we want a new superstar, this year's the year. And their numbers, I mean, obviously what Lamar's doing, all right, first quarterback in NFL history to have 4,000 passing yards and 900 rushing yards. Phenomenal. Josh Allen isn't too far behind that. And Josh Allen has more wins. And Josh Allen has less talent on his team. So when I think about the year in whole, Josh Allen had a more captivating run than Lamar Jackson ever did this season. I think the 4-game stretch versus the Chiefs, 49ers, Rams, and Lions, and I'm putting the Rams game in there because that comeback, I had even sent you a text. I was like, there is no better scenario for us right now, Nick, than him not just, we don't want him to blow him out by 30. We want him to have one of those come from behind, impossible victories. Even though he still didn't get it done, though, losing 44-42 made it just as appealing as it needed to be able to get like these MVP votes. You cannot, be wrong in this situation. Either one is right. Lamar's won it before. I think what the NFL wants to do, if it's really entertainment based, you give Josh Allen the MVP and you do whatever you need to do to make sure Lamar Jackson is your Super Bowl champion this year. That's the way I feel. So yeah, Josh Allen plus 850. Nick, you will be able to cash that in. What about you? You want to we can make the case for Lamar too.
Yeah, I'm obviously everyone knows where my pockets are when it comes to this. But before I even tell you, what problem I have? I hate when people play both sides of the fence. It really upsets me, whether it's a football take or just in life in general. I feel like you got to pick a side and stay on it for the most part. At least that's how I am. A lot of Ravens fans or Lamar Jackson stans, because he's a very polarizing player too, right? There's still people that think that he's trash or that he's overrated. I don't agree with that. Shit, when I first moved to Vegas, bro, one of the best videos I ever shot was like this 8-minute video about how ridiculous it was that this dude didn't get paid yet when he's outperformed all of his peers. Everybody that he's peered with, he's done more. Except for Mahomes, which, okay, the greatest quarterback to ever breathe is the only guy that he's not better than.
Wins and losses aren't a quarterback stat.
Sure. But also, he had the multiple MVPs, right? Well, he had an MVP at the time. His team is 10 plus wins every time that he's healthy. 2 years ago, they ended up slipping in the playoffs because he got hurt and then Huntley went in there, right? So this guy has outperformed Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen even. So I made a case for Lamar Jackson, and I feel like the hate that he gets, it's out of pocket. The complaint that I have is last year, and look, we were financially invested in McCaffrey, but I felt like Dak Prescott was the MVP last year, right? Had better numbers than Lamar. I believe they had the same record also, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Ravens might have had a better record, but he didn't have MVP numbers. It came down to what I think even made this a conversation, bro. The same shit that happened last year. Lamar Jackson, the last 3 weeks, played 3 standalone games. He played the Steelers on a Saturday, only game on TV.
Yep.
He played a Christmas game, only game on TV. Yep. And then he played on Saturday last week, this past weekend, only game on TV. And then Josh Allen ends up not playing yesterday. He started just to keep the streak going. And then he played a 10 a.m. Pacific time game against the Pats 2 weeks ago. And then he played, was it the Jets? He played nobodies in comparison.
Correct.
So that take, I feel better about it when I kept saying yo, bro, we got to just look who's playing the most primetime games because that's going to influence the odds. And it clearly did. It clearly did. With all that being said, I know I've been long-winded. The problem I have is last year, the people that are Lamar fans and Ravens fans are like, oh, it's not only about numbers. it's about team success and what he did. Sure. But now this year, when you make the case for Josh Allen, it's, well, he doesn't have the same numbers as Lamar. And here are the numbers, the side by side. Lamar beat him in the regular season, smoked him.
Yeah.
Right? Josh Allen 13-4, Lamar 12-5, but also the 13-4 is kind of skewed because yesterday they lost that game and it goes under his record because he started, right? Lamar has about 400 more passing yards than him. Lamar has 41 pass touchdowns to his 28. Lamar has 4 interceptions to his 6. Where he beat him this year is rushing touchdowns. 12 touchdowns by Josh Allen to Lamar's 4. Lamar's numbers this year are definitely better. Dude, we were talking about this in like week 5. I was like, yo, you know who's probably the MVP? Lamar Jackson. Yeah. His numbers are way better than what they were last year. I don't agree with the voter fatigue. That's been a segment on the show too. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're the best player, I don't care if you've won it before, like, you should probably win it again. Bro, Jokic, I don't know how much NBA you've been following, but Jokic is averaging a triple-double, carrying the Nuggets, and people are like, it's his best statistical year of his career. Oh, but he can't win MVP because he won it. I think that's a crock of shit. That's the worst take I think people have. I don't like it. But with Lamar, which roster do you think is better? Talent-wise.
The Ravens.
Yeah. And what was the expectation coming into the year? I think narratives play into that too. He lost Stephon Diggs. He lost Gabe Davis. That was about 250 plus targets he lost last year. He has a rookie, Keon Coleman. He got Shakir, who we like, and he came alive in the playoffs, but like slot wide receiver, how well could he do? The 2 tight ends with Knox and Kincaid. James Cook, I believe, was like second most rushing touchdowns he had this year in the league. But the expectation was down. The defense, can the defense carry? We loved the Jets in the division. We thought Miami could be a team that could make noise. And Josh Allen just carried them this year. And I think that 4-game stretch that you mentioned, bro, like even in a loss, dude had 6 total touchdowns and first time ever was being thrown around. So Josh Allen had the bigger moments. He had the better performances in big games. The two 1 seeds in the NFL both lost to Josh Allen. Yep. One was on the road, one was at home against the Chiefs. So my whole thing is I don't like when people will give one take because it supports their theory, and then the next year it's the same situation, but now they don't give that take because it doesn't support their guy.
Yeah. And I think, Nick, we found the theory, though. It's how do we map this out as if we were WWE storylining the NFL? And the exact way that you would do that right now would be to make Josh Allen the MVP and you find a way to get Lamar into the Super Bowl. Like, that is the ultimate matchup. The Super Bowl exact that I put in last year, Ravens, Lions. I mean, it's looking pretty solid right now. I think that those are the 2 teams that we'll probably end up seeing. But I know we'll touch on all that a little bit later on. Now, with Lamar, do you think he'll be motivated by this? Do you think he doesn't care? How would you gauge Lamar's feeling towards if he doesn't win?
You know who I think is motivated?
Who?
The guy in Kansas City.
He's like, y'all kept me off the fucking Pro Bowl team, bitch. I'm about to kill you guys. Yeah.
Remember, y'all must have forgot. That's who I think is looking at this like, huh? Oh, so it's Josh and Lamar now. All right, cool. I won 15 games. I was 15-1. I deserved the rest. That's who I think is motivated. He's looking at this like, remember, you've watched The Last Dance, right? Mm-hmm. When Carl Malone won the MVP, when Charles Barkley won the MVP, and MJ was like, I took it personal. That was all I needed to know. That's exactly what I think Mahomes is going to do. Because, dude, the more I've been trying to get cute and try to I don't like betting the favorite, right? I like trying to get creative with the matchups. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple that we'll run through on the Wednesday show, but we'll give some out on this one too. I'm trying not to see Chiefs Lions in the Super Bowl, right? There's a couple that I like just from a betting standpoint. But most likely going to be that though. The 1 seeds, right? Not really a no. It's a no shit take, right? One is plus 150, the other is plus 130 to be the representative of the AFC and the NFC. But I think the guy that's motivated through all this is Pat Mahomes.
God, you're
He's
so
like,
right.
oh, our weapons aren't good. Okay. Oh, Kelsey's getting old. Okay. Our defense. Okay. Still got to go through KC. And, bro, you got to beat them that first game. That first game when they play, because I think yesterday on the broadcast they were talking about how the Chiefs, when they play that divisional round game, it'll be 22 days from the last time Mahomes and them played. That's where you got to beat them. Because if you don't, guess who's going back to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Fucking Taylor Swift and company. That's who's going. Funny. So I think that's the guy that's ultimately the most motivated from all this. He's just sitting back like,
cool.
All right. Y'all must have forgot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really sucks that he couldn't have been in this conversation as well to make this like a 3-headed monster. I mean, we got Joe Burrow with his numbers and everything, but I mean, all the quarterbacks of this new era definitely have compelling cases, minus Pat this year. So what are we going to see in the years to come? Is this just going to be the standard chalk play? You pick one of these 4 and they're going to rotate this MVP trophy for the next 5 years? Or is there some new blood that you think will emerge in the mix these upcoming years?
Well, I think this year completely eliminates any non-quarterback ever.
Yep.
They just move. It's not like, bro,
it's not going to happen.
Barkley got 2,000 yards. Didn't play in the last game because they earned that. He easily could have broke the record, which, by the way, how do you feel about that? Him not suiting up in that last game to break the record.
You better win the fucking Super Bowl.
Yo.
You better win the fucking Super Bowl, bro. Yo. Because I would be triggered. That's the worst possible thing in the world. It would be like playing a hard video game, Nick, and then getting to the final level and the video game's like, hey, don't worry, I got it for you, buddy. And you're like, wait, what is I have this challenge I want to complete. Like my heart isn't fulfilled. Fuck, that's gotta kill him.
Bro, I couldn't agree with you more. That was my take too. It was, y'all better win the Super Bowl. Or at least go. Like, you at least better go to the Super Bowl. Yep. Because if you have a chance to break an all-time record, you gotta go for it, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it was for him to make remember last year Travis Kelce needed, I think it was like 17 yards to get the 1,000 yards again, and he might have had some incentives, and he was like, it's cool, man. Like, let the backups play. Like, I'd rather just get healthy. I could live with that. But if you have a chance to break the all-time record against the team that you left, I would feel some type of way. And a lot of the Eagles fans on Twitter, like, shout out to Sean Green from SUPN. He was like, dude, it's a bigger vision. I was like, yo, I get that, bro. But this isn't a Eagles franchise record or a career high. It's like, this is the all-time. It's in striking distance.
Okay. It's soft. As an organization, you gotta go for it now, Nick, because now I'm even thinking of it in my head. It's in division. Sirianni's got the gun to the Giants' heads, and then week 18 comes and he's like, just kidding. It's like, you're a football team, bro. You better pull that fucking trigger on that team that fucked up. Like, this is what we wanted to see. It would have been poetic justice for a Giants fan like you, because I bet you even feel some type of way. You're like, no. I wanted you to get the record.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
I mean, bro, there's not a Giants fan on the planet that is happier than what Barkley did this year. By the way, Offensive Player of the Year, you're fucking welcome.
God.
You got to play him there, bro.
You do.
I think you just got to play him. So I was just curious because we didn't get to talk about it.
And it's like team morale.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw how fired up people got for Mike Evans getting his reception or hitting his incentive.
Bro,
how hype everybody in you would have possibly, and I'm not exaggerating, fans would have stormed the field. There would have been a couple of fans that would have tried to do I wanted to be next to Saquon Barkley. I don't care if I get arrested. He just did something that hasn't been done in 40 years.
Yeah. Not ever, but in 40 years. Yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about from week 18 is the Mike Evans moment.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Evans needed, I think, 5 yards in that last play to trigger a $3 million incentive in total. And, it's 38-31, playoffs on the line. And it was funny, your boy Baker, which, by the way, should definitely get MVP votes.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield should
get him like a 5th place. It'll make him super excited.
Top 5 MVP candidate. We were talking about it a couple weeks ago, how like he's probably not going to win it, but honorable mention. Shout out to you, plus 500. We said Bucks to win the division.
I made that take in a Saints shirt too. I just think it solidified like how valid that take really was. So yes.
So Mike Evans needed 5 yards on that last drive, and they threw it to him, broke a tackle, and then just gets tackled and celebrates immediately. The way the fans interacted, the way the teammates interacted, the way he did, like that tells you all you need to know about that guy, like how much of a fan favorite he is and such a popular teammate as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Saints players just let it happen?
Yeah. And Mike Evans is in one of those situations too, where it's like, okay, I won't give you like 500,000, but I'll give you 250,000 if you let me get this up and out right now. Like,
nah, I think the players are all in.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying Mike Evans would have like, hey, here's $250,000. I appreciate you playing soft as shit cover. He did a speed turn, that defensive back, at like 4 yards. I've never seen it before in my entire life, Nick.
Yeah.
You usually do speed turns when people are running posts, corner routes.
Because the reason why I feel like the Saints players let him do it is because everyone knew that the ball was going to go there, and they kind of just like let him catch it.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to do a show, Upsets and Underdogs, with Will Blackman, and I asked him one time, do you guys know about the incentives? He's like, yeah, 100%. And like, we push for it. Like, we wanted to get it. Like, we're all the players are pro players, where like the teams, I don't know if they want, I mean, bro, you saw what happened with Cooper Rush and the Cowboys?
Yeah, they held him back.
So
right?
he was supposed, if he would have made $500,000 if he played, I think it was 55% of the snaps, and he was at like 52%. So if he played yesterday, he would have gotten that incentive. And they started Trey Lance. That's kind of fucked up, because also I think Cooper Rush makes $3 million. We're like $500,000 for him. That's a very decent amount, right?
Facts.
I remember 2 years ago when they first did the NBA Cup, the in-season tournament, I had like $300 money line on the Pacers when they played in the final, and my thinking was, yo, they got 8 guys on the roster that make like the veterans minimum. I was like, yo, if there's anyone that's gonna, it ended up not happening. They lost, but like that was my logic. Like the money is so much different. Kind of, Jerry Jones kind of getting some heat for that.
I mean,
do you think they do right by him? Do you think they end up like Cooper Rush? They throw him something or what?
I've always thought this. I'm like, if Dana White operates the UFC like the way that he does, a lot of not telling people exactly how much people make, the NFL for sure does shit like that.
Yeah.
If you're the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, I mean, it's one of the most prestigious positions in all of the NFL. And you got to, by the way, Trey Lance can't look any less like a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like he looks like just a created player. I'm not a fan of the tats. And then the number 19, wild. That's a terrible quarterback number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not a fan of that. Yo, I think they do right by him. I think there's going to be a lot of heat on the Cowboys, like kind of a dick move doing that. I think they got to throw him some money.
Yeah, because I mean, it's all that the Cowboys have been talking about. Like, what else was there to talk about for the Cowboys in Week 18 other than that? So every fan knew, and that's what I was going to bring up for the Mike Evans thing too. Just the way that they would probably do the in-stadium promos for like, at third quarter ends, they'll show on the screen like Mike Evans needs 13 more yards to break this record. So then everybody in the stadium is fucking, on their feet. And so they make it a point.
Yeah, that was definitely a cool moment, man. If you guys were following the picks in the Discord and on Patreon, we did hit some incentives that were really, really sweet. Zach Ertz, He needed 2 touchdowns for $500,000. We bet him to score 1 because it was plus 220. Sutton needed 82 yards for $500K. He hit that. Mike Evans, it was 5 catches for 85 yards. He hit that also. Von Miller got $1.5 million on a sack, which felt awfully reminiscent to Strahan and Brett Favre. Like, all he did was like put his hand on him and the dude collapsed. I think Brock Bowers, it wasn't an incentive, but he broke the catches record for rookies all time. Neighbors beat it, and then he beat Neighbors because the games were on at different times. The one that killed me was Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray needed a rushing touchdown and over 50 yards for $1.5 million. And as I'm watching the games and I'm venting to it in the group chat with my buddies back home, my one friend goes, yo, bro, he makes $50 million. All the other guys are on like 1-year deals, and like J.K. Dobbins needed 58 yards for $500,000. He's like, how much does Kyler really want to go? And there were they scored 40 points yesterday against the Niners. They were inside the 5-yard line a bunch of times, and he didn't once, not even one rush.
Yeah.
Like, remember that time we bet Aaron Jones in the revenge game against the Packers the first time they played at Lambeau, and he had 8 touches inside the 5 and didn't score one time? I could live with that. Like, we were on the right read.
Correct.
But Kyler Murray, not even one. And it's like, bro, I remember talking to, it was Jeremiah. We were talking about that, how like he could actually influence the game. He'd be like, I'm going to just keep this one. Nope, not even once. So that was the only one we missed on. And also D-Hop too. D-Hop was like plus 500 beginning of the week. Then yesterday before lock, it was like plus 185. I don't think he saw a target. I don't even think he played.
Yeah, I don't think he played.
Yeah.
Why would he?
Why would he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would he? So,
but it's just like, who's starting the fucking rumors that drops that number to 185 is.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is what happened. And I was telling everyone on social media and even in the Discord, I was like, we were fucked with the incentives the moment all the sports books were putting out what the incentives were. It's like, it's no longer a secret, bro. Like, dude, this used to be a real thing. Like, maybe a decade ago, I remember playing daily fantasy, DraftKings and FanDuel, and I would build lineups these last 2 weeks because of the incentives. And it wasn't Sports Center and NFL Countdown weren't opening the show with, who needs 82 yards? Like, it used to be sneaky, right? It's like when people tell you in fantasy football, like, dude, I got a sleeper. They're like, who? Everyone has the same information now. It's, do I trust George, and do I trust how convinced he is on said player? Like, I know we don't talk fantasy football on the show, but a lot of people were hitting me up when they won about their quarterbacks were Josh Allen, they took Saquon Barkley, and Jamar Chase. It's like, those were the 3 guys that we bet futures on. And they're like, well, you didn't tell us from fantasy, but we were just like, oh, you talked about Barkley for every episode since March. So yeah, we'll take him first. So the incentives are no longer a secret.
Yeah.
And once I saw FanDuel, DraftKings, everyone is like, incentive, I was like, oh, we're doomed. We're doomed. So yeah, just be careful. There are some though that like the Sutton one and the Mike Evans, in order for their teams to win, they needed those guys to actually perform well. Whereas some of the others, it's a little bit more difficult. So let us know how you guys did in week 18 with the betting. And if you guys like incentive week, if you guys love it. All right. Roll call for Patreon. Patreon.com/veterans minimum. We are at 83 paid members as we head into 2025. We're trying to get to 100 by the Super Bowl. Remember, all we ask for is $1 American. We're like the entertainers at Sapphires and Crazy Horse 3. Shout out to Isaiah in the control room. Arabia, Daniel Gibson, Mahul Patel, Thomas Robinson, Abel Rezin, Ben Coatsy, and Christopher Velasquez. Derrick Platees, Devin Rendon, Dylan Chadwick, Jerry Shapiro, Jordan Riley, Mike Stevens, Nicholas Messina, and Nick Crummage. Thank you all for your contributions to the Patreon. And we have 2 new members. We have Alan and we have Zaleski. On the rookie contracts. Yeah.
Zaleski's a good name.
Yeah. Any name. If you contribute to the Patreon, any name works.
Very true.
Remember, just $1 American is all we're asking for. Patreon.com/veterans minimum. Okay, George, I want to talk about the AFC. I want us to make the case for and against each AFC team to win the Super Bowl.
I love this. Do you want to start top to bottom or bottom to top?
Let's go bottom to the top.
Okay.
So we'll start with Denver. The case for them, am I crazy to think they might have the best defense in the playoffs?
No, you're not crazy at all for thinking that. I'm also a huge fan of their coach. So I think that the coaching pedigree is leaning in their favor. Nick, they're young, dumb, and fun.
Yeah.
And when you were young, dumb, and fun, you still are young.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, younger.
Yeah.
I mean, you made some of the best decisions of your life.
And a lot of the worst.
And a lot of the worst.
Yeah.
What if we get the best?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, young, dumb, and fun plays both ways for this team. And, yeah, bro, if you could just believe, I think that this team, can make the upset of the playoffs week 1. Is that what you were thinking with their defense?
Kinda. Yeah, I think their defense, like Patrick Surtain right now, he is the odds-on favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. Ready for this? Per FanDuel at week 6, 200-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year. And this will be the first time in a long time that a non-pass rusher would win it. So, look, he got paid in the offseason. I think he justified that money, and he's a cornerstone of that team. So I think the defense is the case for them to win. The case against, it's a rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for as well as he's been playing, and, bro, he's one of your guys too.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of your guys. I think that's ultimately what holds them back. And I think if you could take away Cortland Sutton, I think they're pretty easy to stop.
Yeah.
So that's my case for and against Denver.
The run game is like next to non-existent. You know, when Bo Nix is sometimes your premier rushing threat, and you're about to be playing in 30-degree snow flurries in Buffalo this upcoming weekend. A lot of things got to go your way. But the only way that I would give this team a chance is with Sean Payton at the helm. And I think you can develop a decent enough game plan to give yourself an opportunity, especially if you can capitalize on some of Josh Allen's fuck-ups, which he hasn't made a lot of this year. But that team, and we're going to make the pros and cons for them at the very end. There are some spots on that Bills team that I find easy to exploit. So, yeah, the Broncos. What are they at? 75-1 to win the Super Bowl? They're like next to the Steelers for worst odds.
I'll tell you right now, future odds. Yeah. Right now they are at 70-1.
70.
Yeah. Steelers actually at the moment have the worst odds of any team in the playoffs. Yeah. Which leads us to the next team, Pittsburgh Steelers. The case for their defense. I know I just said defense back to back, but it's like their defense now can't get a stop.
Their case for is fucking Mike Tomlin. They're just on such a bad losing streak right now where it doesn't seem like anything that they can do in the playoffs would be able to beat any of these teams in the AFC.
Yeah, and I think in a weird way, I think it benefits them that they play Baltimore just because they're familiar.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that's, like, I love the plus 10. I'm throwing away that last game that they played. I think just historically, 10 points in this matchup, I have to take it. Spoiler, that's the Monday winner for this week. But you can't feel good about Pittsburgh. They're legit limping into the playoffs.
I just think if Art Smith can figure out a way to effectively get George Pickens the ball easily, instead of just trying to, like, I don't know, give him these deep shots where obviously he's supposed to make these plays. But if George Pickens is the gas to your engine on offense because Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are starting to get hobbled, they look like what they looked like last year, you gotta get crafty. And Russ did some very uncharacteristic things this past week that made me text you and say, I've never seen a potential Hall of Fame quarterback not run out of bounds and instead try to go hit stick a safety with 30 seconds left. Insane.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe
Russ being a Hall of Famer was a little back. It was back.
Oh, Nick,
It was super back.
so back.
Yeah.
The
The thing with Pittsburgh, right? Their last 4 games, 13, 17, 10, 17. The amount of points that they scored.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Russ kind of distracted a lot of people when he did come into the games and they were putting up like 40 spots. Like, how is it that you put up 400, almost 500 yards of offense against Cincinnati in their building, and then you play them this past week and it seemed like they were struggling to get first downs? And I know Pickens had missed a little bit of time. Is he someone now that's like valuable against the point spread if he's playing or not? Because it seems like it, especially like early on. He just couldn't do nothing. They couldn't do nothing when they played the Ravens a couple weeks ago. So the case for is their defense, but the case against is, I just think right now, you know how you want to back the hot team coming into the playoffs? They are the freezing cold.
Yeah.
4-game losing streak. And not for nothing, I think Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. So
He's like one of those coaches, like when you say, Super Bowl pedigree, it's like, yeah, I mean, in the 2000s, we're in
17 years ago.
Super Bowl pedigree.
Yeah.
Wins a lot of games. It was crazy, Nick. It was week 11. They were 9-2, and he had claimed, victory to that illustrious over 500 record.
Winning record, yeah.
And then they finish 10-7, and yeah, it's not looking good at all. I think if they can establish any sort of a run game and they can control the clock against the Ravens, it's their only chance. But I don't think it's so tough to make a case for this team.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm smiling is, did you see what Troy Aikman said?
No, what'd he say?
Bro, I tagged you in this. This was phenomenal. I was so excited. So he said, during the broadcast, he said Najee Harris has rushed for 1,000 yards all 4 seasons in the league. And Troy Aikman said, I can't tell you how little that impresses me.
Oh, yes. I fucking...
Sounds like something I said. I don't think 1,000 yards is that impressive anymore. It averages to 59 yards a game. And I know my favorite TikTok comment of all time, it's like, so one more game equals 500 yards. Because I was like, I need you to get at least 1,500 yards. I'm like, bro, if you look at it, like the cream of the crop, they get about 1,300 or more yards. That's what I would like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would like. So when you said the running game, it just reminded me about that. It's like, oh, maybe my take wasn't so crazy. So, yeah, it is a little bit of a struggle to find a 4 for the Steelers. But I do have a 4 for the Chargers.
Go ahead.
I think so. I want to pursue with caution on Saturday because they play the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of hype that the Chargers are getting into this game, it reminds me deja vu a year ago, bro. Everybody was betting on the Browns. Joe Flacco was coming in hot. And if I remember correctly, I think Houston was like a 2-point underdog at home.
Yep.
And the game was over after the first quarter. They had like a pick 6. It was 14-0.
Yep.
And that was the ball game. And they were like 90% of the tickets were coming in on the Browns. Kind of feels the same way. Now, the biggest difference, I think the coach plays not to lose. And I think outside of Andy Reid, he might have a coaching advantage over everyone in the playoffs that he can match up with.
Yeah.
And the combination of head coach and quarterback, man, I might just take Reid and Mahomes over them in the whole playoffs. Like, I think the combination of the head coach in Harbaugh and then Justin Herbert, I think only Mahomes and Reid are better. So that's the case for. He's an experienced guy. He's been there. He's been to Super Bowls. He's been to conference championship games. They're starting to get the offense going a little bit. Ladd McConkey is a real thing.
Yeah. Will Dissly. I was at the game yesterday.
Will Dissly.
Huge part of that offense.
The running game also. I still think they're one like alpha wide receiver away from being like, this team might win a Super Bowl. But I think the case for them is the head coach and quarterback parlayed with the defense. I think their defense can make plays. So that's the case for me for the LA Chargers.
I love everything you said. Yeah, my 4 was going to be that defensive front. I think you give yourself a chance when you could get after the quarterback, and CJ Stroud is definitely pass first. It would be interesting to see, CJ Stroud's mentality kind of shift into playoff form. Like, where this week, out of any week, you should bet every quarterback's rushing props over, because the moment means more. They're going to try to make big plays. But with this Chargers pass rush, I think that they're looking rather solid. So that's a plus for them. Ladd McConkey is such a underrated, third down threat that I think if teams don't prepare for him the way that they should this upcoming week versus the Texans, he could go off. This Chargers team, they have all the pieces, bro, but they're plagued by the, oh, woe is me culture. And I don't think Harbaugh has done a good enough job with the fan base to kind of show that, we aren't missionary football, right? Like, and it really feels like that. They play everything by the book. They don't do anything that is, rolling the dice, so to speak, Dan Campbell-esque. And that's what I feel the negatives are for the Chargers. So
yeah, I agree with you. I was gonna say that too. Like, it seems like they don't really take. Remember, like when Brandon Staley was there, every fourth down,
he was Mr. Analytics, bro.
Yeah, they were going for it though, like every single time, and I kind of fucked with it. But eventually, like, I remember that first year, they were converting like 70% of their fourth downs. It's like eventually there's gonna be a regression, and it was, and then it was bad. They couldn't pick up a fourth down, so they're interesting, right? Because if they do win, and if it goes chalk, like if the Ravens and the Bills win and then the Chargers win, then I think that's the team that could beat the Chiefs, because they play them close both times this year. They covered the spread, and it's just it's a team that Justin Herbert is 7-1-1 in his career against the number. And again, that's the week to beat the Chiefs. That first game back. Remember a couple years ago when they played the Jaguars? Jaguars ended up covering. They looked pretty sloppy in that game.
Yep.
Ironically enough, the Jaguars had that epic comeback against the Chargers. Like, that's the only way I think you could beat the Chiefs. Like, you have to get them in that first game.
Yeah.
Texans. I don't have much to say about the Texans. I don't think I can make a case for them. I think they might be the worst team in the playoffs.
My case for them is Joe Mixon's carrying the rock. And having a running back with legitimate playoff experience matters. That's the one piece of the puzzle that they didn't have last year. That's my only hope for this team, is that he pops off, bro. When you think about the Bengals playoff run or the Super Bowl run, Joe Mixon was a integral part of that. And I think if they're going to make any sort of run, Joe Mixon's got to be 25 carries for 130 and 2 touchdowns. So that's the pros. Cons?
A lot of the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Injuries. I think CJ Stroud had a terrible year or two. I was so happy to say, even though they won the division, I was so happy to not fall for the trap. They were the third favorite to win the AFC. I think the hype, you have it happen all the time. Like, who the hype teams are going to be next year, right?
Yeah. Washington
again.
Mm-hmm.
I wish Washington would have missed the playoffs. That'd be a team I would back next year. So, they have some money. Maybe they could get a T. Higgins, throw him on there with McLaurin
mm-hmm.
and the offense that they have. Like, they're going to be the second-year quarterback darling team. Well, now you're going to play a second-place schedule. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for you, but they kind of remind me about how I felt about the Texans last. Remember how angry I was that the Texans and the Packers made the playoffs?
We both, dude.
I didn't like it. So that's why I think that the Texans, they're banged up. Cluster injuries, man. A lot of injuries to their wide receivers. They lost 2 of their 3 wide receivers. And Nico Collins, I think, gets into the end zone again. He'll be in the anytime touchdown parlay, I'm telling you from now. But it's pretty much him and Mixon.
Yeah.
And maybe the home field could get him through. And a lot of people are ready. Like if you look at the betting splits, 70% of the bets are coming in on the Chargers. I think everyone's going to be on the Chargers. They'll be the popular road team to get a win this weekend. So that's about it on the Texans, man. I think I'm excited to talk about Baltimore. Kind of want to bet them to win the AFC.
Is it the Lamar Jackson factor that I was talking about earlier, that they're going to slide him, but they're going to make sure that he makes it?
So Baltimore right now is plus 300 to win the AFC. They are plus 600 to win the Super Bowl. They are 10-point favorites against Pittsburgh this weekend. I think it's Derrick Henry. They didn't have Derrick Henry last year.
Mm-hmm.
And now we need to wait and see what happens with Zay Flowers because he did get banged up. Hopefully it's nothing serious and he could play. But Derrick Henry, remember last year, I believe against the Chiefs, they only ran the ball like 4 times. It was something ridiculous. And they were the number one rushing offense last year. That's what killed them. Now they're going to be like, oh, we got Derrick Henry. And we've seen what this dude has done in the playoffs too. Like he carried the Titans to AFC title game. I think he is the case for because we've seen this iteration of Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, but not with Derrick Henry, bro. And I think Derrick Henry, it's a career resurgence, not career, but like a season resurgence for the running back position. Because, can I tell you this prop I've been looking at? Tell me what you think. It pays 15-1. Eagles, Ravens to be the Super Bowl.
I like that one.
And what, like the storyline of the running back? The running back is back. These guys were not cast offs, but like,
yeah,
these guys got let go by their teams. And now look, it's the 2 best running backs in the league. Focal point of their offenses. I think that's why the teams were so successful this year because of the offense, because of them 2 in the backfield. I've been looking at that one, man. Ravens, and the Eagles 15-1 to be the Super Bowl. And I think the case for Derrick Henry and the Ravens is Derrick Henry. The case against, if you play a Buffalo, you play a Kansas City, your defense can't really stop anyone.
Yeah. I mean, their defense has been clicking as of recent. I feel like the Ravens defense is hitting a point in the season where all the checks are coming through smooth. They're playing in unison. I wouldn't compare them to like old tough Baltimore Ravens defenses, but they haven't allowed over 23 points since Thanksgiving. So a whole month of playing your best before meaningful football, I think bodes well for them. That was one of my pros for them. Am I crazy to say one of the cons is that Lamar Jackson has become a pass first quarterback?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think they unleash him in the playoffs. That's what I think happens.
I hope so. I hope so, Nick.
Yeah. I don't want you running the ball when you're a 20-point favorite against the Browns. Now I want you to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what's a sneaky bet not a lot of people do? Every playoff game, I think Mahomes in his last 10 playoff games, only one time he didn't go over his rushing total.
Yeah.
Because it'll be like 23.5, 25.5. And he runs in the playoffs because they're like, yo, now it's the playoffs. We don't want you running as a 14-point favorite in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Now we want you running. So it's Jalen Hurts is another one too. Like Jalen Hurts runs come playoff time. We don't want you doing it against the Giants as a 12-point favorite. So I think come playoff time, him, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they run when they need to.
Okay. I know you're saying this now, but tell me what has bounced Lamar Jackson every year he's made it to the playoffs. It's that he thinks too much and he doesn't take off. And I've just seen it on repeat, year in, year out. Lamar, do what Josh Allen does.
Yeah.
Go take over the game and don't leave anything to chance. Stop thinking that Zay Flowers is Michael Irvin. He's not. Move on.
Yeah. Shout out to the playmaker.
Yeah.
Text exchange with the playmaker. That's pretty cool.
I know I had to use Michael Irvin there. I just wanted to see if
you said it. Oh, yeah, brother. All right. Buffalo Bills. Case 4. They got the league MVP. Carry them. They're going to have 2 playoff games, hypothetically speaking, until they go into Kansas City, if everything goes chalk.
Mm-hmm.
The case against? if you do stop Josh Allen, which actually I don't believe that because this dude always delivers in a big spot. Him and Mahomes, bro. Oh, God, that video aged so well from the summer.
Mm-hmm.
When it's time, these two guys, Mahomes and Allen, you can count on them to have a good game. They're not going to be the reason why their team loses. So the case for is obviously Josh Allen. He's having this unbelievable season. The case against, special teams? Hurt them last year.
Yep. I was just going to say youth and experience. And God damn it, Keon Coleman, you're going to have a big time play to make. Catch the ball. Because nothing would pain us more than to see, one of the new pieces of this team ruin it for Josh. That's the con for me. James Cook has never had a touchdown in the playoffs.
Really?
Got to get in the end zone, big dog.
Yeah.
Okay? Josh needs it this year. So, and he's had, I think James Cook's played 4 playoff games. Not a single trip to the end zone is wild. So he's the only other one that's like real like playoff experience. Did Amari Cooper probably had some memorable playoff experience with the Cowboys. Yeah. And that's about it. Their team is rather healthy for the end of the year too, which bodes well for them. And they got the weather. Like I said, I looked it up this weekend. It should be 30 degrees and snow flurries.
But Denver, it get cold in Denver.
I get it.
It's not exactly.
I get it.
It's not Miami going in there.
It's just it affects the way that the game is coached.
Sure. Yeah, Buffalo, man. Like, I'm holding a Eagles Bills ticket and a Packers Bills ticket. Do not feel good about the Packers. We'll save that for the Wednesday show.
Yeah,
it might be one and done. They opened up that game -3 and it's -5 now in some places.
Damn.
Immediately. Pretty disrespectful line for the Eagles, I think. Last but not least, the Kansas City Chiefs. The case for,
God's on their side this season. God has been watching over every single game. Go back and look at every one of their wins. God was involved. And they actually have 2 gods. There's the Jesus Christ that's blessing them on Sundays, and then there's Patrick Mahomes, the second coming of Jesus Christ.
It's so hard to not pick them, bro. And even though, like, I don't know if you feel this way, but certain teams, they kind of earn the right. And mind you, there's a team that lost 2 games. Well, they lost 1 game in the regular season, right? They got smoked yesterday, but they lost 1 game in the regular season when everyone played. And all we did was complain about them. And look, they didn't look great.
Mm-hmm.
But I just trust the infrastructure there. And I trust Reed and Mahomes. And, Kelsey is going to go buck wild because guess what? Last year, over on his catches, over on his yards, cashed in every single game. And I think he scored a touchdown in every single game but the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly. So They unleash him now. And they're going for history. No team has ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. So that's the case for them. I trust them. I think you'll see D-Hop.
Yeah. Have a legitimate playoff moments to add to his career highlight tape.
Yeah. And I think the case against them would be they are pretty flawed, though, too. Like, if it wasn't a team that, if they didn't have the cachet of winning all this much, like this, if this team was brand new, like this is the first time they're the 1 seed, you'd feel way different. But they have the championship pedigree and they're experienced enough where they've earned the right, like the Spurs back in the day with Dunk. It's like, bro, if they just get in healthy, they don't care if they got to go play a game 7 in fucking Memphis. Like, it don't matter to them. And that's how I feel about Kansas City. And for as bad as people think they were this year, you got to make sure you beat them in that divisional round. Because if they get through that and they got their legs underneath them, it's going to be another Super Bowl for Kansas City. So I think the case for is obviously the experience and the championship pedigree, and they got 1-5 over there. The case against is I do trust my eyes on what I've seen. Like, they haven't looked that great. But on third down, they lead the league in third down conversions. So even when it looks shitty, it's like, yeah, if the game is close, he's going to pull a rabbit out of his ass. And that's what you've seen. So That's pretty much it on Kansas City, bro. Give me your case for and against.
Yeah, well, my case for was the whole God statement. The case against is that if Isaiah Pacheco is not healthy and he is hobbled at any point in time and in the first game or throughout the playoffs, like he's the gas to their engine on offense to be a high functioning, high powered Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid could do whatever they want. Isaiah Pacheco limping off to the sideline and bringing in Carson Steele. They also have Samaje Perine. I just don't like that version of the Chiefs. That version of the Chiefs, to me, can be stopped later on in the playoffs because defenses will key into what you got going on best. Travis Kelce will not have as good of a playoffs this year if Isaiah Pacheco isn't fully functional. That's just the unfortunate reality of where the Chiefs are at right now. So just monitor him closely. Because if he ever comes out in that first game, Nick, if he comes out in that first game, I think that's an immediate live bet the other side. Dead ass. I know it's crazy that I'm putting this much on 1-0, but he means a lot to that offense.
I think they're going to come out the gates firing, bro. I really do. I think Mahomes not being in the MVP combo, how we said before, I think that's the guy that's the most motivated. Worthy. They got Hollywood Brown now. They got D-Hop, Kelce. Shit, Noah Gray. I'll tell you now, I'm going to bet some Noah Gray touchdowns.
He's, yeah.
Well, plus 400, plus 500. He's been scoring a ton. Career year for him. And playoff Spags, baby. New York Giant great. They come alive around this time. And for them, it got to go through Kansas City. So it's you got to beat them that first game. That's all I'll keep saying. Like that first game, you got to keep the pedal to the metal, and you got to make sure you beat them then. Because if not, it might be Kansas City once again in the Super Bowl. So let us know. Hit us up on social media at Veterans Minimum. Thank you all for listening. Once again, make sure you rate, review, subscribe, comment, share. Please share. Going to put an even bigger emphasis on sharing the content this year. We're going to do the case for and against each NFC team on the next show, and then we'll do we'll actually break down each game because now it's only a couple of games.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about each game, and then we'll give our pick within that.
Gotcha. Monday
winner for me, Steelers plus 10. Got to do it. Feels ugly. Feels gross. Borderline Ursulita. Which, you know who should have been Ursulita this year? Just us betting against the Titans.
The entire year.
2-15 against the spread. Holy hell. You think Calvin Ridley was degenerate?
I mean, probably, bro. As after the first practice,
Yeah.
he was like, bro,
We're gonna
Will
be
Levis
fucking bad.
fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yo, remember I said my favorite bet of the entire football season was their under. And that shit cashed. Yeah. So we'll be back Wednesday. Watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok on fire. Shout out to social media manager George.
4,000?
Yeah.
There we go.
Fuck yeah, man. Let's get it. Like I said, Monday winner, Steelers plus 10. Give a Monday winner, and then we'll sign off.
Oh, boy. All right, Monday winner. I'm going to stay in the AFC here. I just watched them this past week, and I like them. Let me go with the Chargers -3 road dogs versus the Texans. All right.
It's going to be rough.
We'll see.
All right, yo. We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
In his element, I'm a gold medalist, bronze like your medal is. So many deer in headlights, but it's bedtime. Hear that supper bell, main course, be the venison. Dab. Most dangerous game. Either kill or be